30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I say that. It does feel like it's a little smoggy, that some of that stuff from Canada may have gotten all the way down here. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist. I just happened to play one. So we welcome all of you, and we got a good show for you today. You might hear some noise in the background from our beautiful new digs at the Ford Ice Center. They have a bunch of camps going on here. One of those being Mitch Korn's goaltender coach. And I know how good Mitch Korn is. So I'll just say those kids are in great hands because he's really good. Let's check in with Lincoln County's finest and say hello to Mr. Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
What's up, George? You were getting tickled by the video that your boys found of 40 years ago or 30 years ago, or it was way before they were born. That's for sure.
Yeah. By the way, let me say this: I had nothing to do with it. I walked in on this.
No, I believe that because your technology expertise is not good. Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah. Although you'd be surprised, I could have found that pile of whatever that was.
And I see you've gone back to wearing shirts given to you by people.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Get over it.
There's no shame in your game. There's no shame in your game, is there?
No, and I've seen some of the stuff you wear. There's not much either.
Hey, man, I wear good stuff, and my stuff is not given to me. I had to buy it, unfortunately.
Right. No, I believe that. Congratulations. You probably made about 10 times
now
more money than I have.
I've had a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of stuff given that I've worn over the years, but yeah, it's all out of date now.
By the way, we have breaking news. Denver just scored again.
Gosh, I told you, man. Jamal Murray, he's the key. If he's playing well, he's good. They're good. They're unstoppable. But if he's not, they got a chance.
Billy, how are you today?
I'm good, George.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Didn't even let me answer.
Have you applied to Tony Basilio for a job?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. I didn't see that. That was a blindside. I didn't see that one coming yesterday.
That was a nice compliment.
That was. Yeah. It sure was. Tony's great. He's one of the best. He is absolutely one of the best.
Scream. So, do you have an update?
I do.
Good. That's wonderful.
Since you mentioned the Nuggets, they just scored again. They're up to 111. They finished with.
That's my line.
109 last night, 109-94. Jokic and Murray both had 30-point triple-doubles. Denver leads 2-1. Denver won despite shooting 5 for 18 from deep. That's a good sign for Denver. I mean, you're going to shoot better than that in the next couple of games. Miami, meanwhile, shot 37% from the field. So there's your shooting comparison.
Let me say this, and this sounds like sour grapes, because I really like the guy. He's become the best player in the game. The old Joker threw a couple of elbows last night that had they been looked at a little closer, flagrant one.
He's sneaky. He's sneaky with that stuff. You can tell. He's got a little He's got a little sneaky to him. He's got a little nastiness to him too. That he tries to. He does all of this during the game, but. Hey, guys like that got a little nastiness to them. They're always talking. They're always, getting those little elbows in, getting a little hit here and there. That's just the way he plays the game. I tell you what, though, the guy's good, man. And I told my daughter last night watching the game, he's phenomenal in his – like he is in shape to be a big guy. It's unbelievable watching him get up and down that court because if I was a center trying to guard him and him running and sprinting up and down the court, he'd make me so mad. But he does good with it.
Here's another thing about him. He has unbelievable touch. If the ball touches the rim, it's going in. And they've pointed that out in the telecast. Van Gundy in particular has brought that up a bunch, while Breen is going from way downtown, bang.
That's right. And then you get Mark Jackson with a little snide comments to Jeff Van Gundy, which it's pretty good.
What is it he says? Man down.
Hand down.
Man down. Yeah.
Man down.
Mama, there goes that man.
Mark Jackson's phenomenal.
They are a fun team together.
And Van Gundy kind of reminds me of you, George, a little. Just kind of that cynical side of him.
He's got a little smart
He's got a little curmudgeon in him. There's no question.
Yeah.
There was a comment last night about changes in things. And Mark Jackson goes, it used to be two-man booths. And
That's right.
He said, yes, and I know who would be out first.
How many assists did Jokic have last night?
50 million.
Was it 21? I think it might have been in the 20s.
I don't know.
Good Lord.
And that's what I said a couple days ago.
He's a great passer.
I think I said that on Monday. When he's passing like that, they're winning. But when he's not making those assists and leading to buckets, they struggle a little bit.
There is besides all the offensive skills that are obvious to the points that he scores, this guy has been taught the game, and his vision on the court is unbelievable because he's a great passer.
Yeah, he really is. He's got and the touch you're talking about, George. Like last night was the most shots I've seen him miss in the paint. He don't normally miss. He was missing some shots in the paint last night, but golly, you can just be on him. He gets that ball. He gets it up so high. He's 7 foot. He gets it up so high. It's just he's hard to defend, man. He's a really good player.
I thought about you late in the second quarter. I was like, Kelly's laughing.
I was laughing because I knew last night. I mean, if I'm going to say it again, if Jamal Murray's playing well and he scores 2 with Jokic, they're not going to beat him. Now, if he doesn't play well like he did in the second game and he has 10 points going in the fourth quarter, the Heat have a chance. They do have a chance.
Game 4, Friday night in Miami.
Yeah.
So
this series is over.
Oh, well, hot take there.
Denver will be your champion.
Oh, no question. I don't think there's any question about that.
I don't think there's any question about that. But in how many games?
I think Miami may tie it. Well, I think it may be 6 or 7. It's going to go at least 6, but Denver's going to win this.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any question about that. All right, NFL news. According to Adam Schefter, the Vikings have informed running back Dalvin Cook that they plan to release him. Minnesota is expected to try to trade him one more time today, and if they are unable to, they plan to release him tomorrow. Either way, this is going to bring an end to Dalvin Cook's 6-year tenure in Minnesota, which I was surprised to see yesterday. I think it was late yesterday.
It's been rumored for a while. Kelly, is this salary stuff or is this internal combustion?
Who knows until you're behind closed doors, George. You never really know. I was reading. It's funny that Billy says that because I was reading something on him yesterday when he came into the league. Had a really tough time. He had the fumble rooskies. He couldn't hold on to the football, and that's not good when you're playing the National Football League. And then he got rid of that. I think the guy's a really good player, but you never know, George. We talked about the Predators and with some of those older guys last year, and then he could be a malcontent in the locker room. Who knows? It could be a multiple things that's going on with Dalvin Cook. But I think he's a really good player. But and I know that we're going to talk about Hopkins later, but this is a hard time of the year to get let go or to get out on the street because everybody's kind of figured out their roster right now that they've got it set. And unless something really happens, unless somebody's really in need for something like that, it's just a tough time to get released.
The Dolphins are expected to have an interest in Cook once he's released.
Oh, yeah.
He turns 28 in August. Yeah. And he was set to take up $14 million in cap space for 2023, and he was due to earn about $11 million if he spent the season with the Vikings. So
that may be where it's coming from.
Those are big numbers for a running back that's getting up there in age. So we'll see about that. George, rolling through here, the NHL playoffs, Game 3 tonight, Golden Knights and the Panthers at 7 o'clock. Golden Knights can just about put some icing on that cake tonight.
Not so fast, to quote Corso. Let's see if I can do this the way he does it. Not so fast. Not so fast.
My friend.
Yeah.
Florida's the home favorite tonight at minus 120.
Yeah, barely.
So just barely.
There will be a selection on that.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
The Live Tour back in the news. Rory McIlroy said he hopes Live Golf is going away, but one of the Live officials told ESPN today that the league isn't going anywhere. This official said, "We know the big picture. We don't know the details because this is the beginning of the merger process. There's just a lot to be worked through in the coming weeks. I think a lot of our questions will be answered, but the big picture is Live is not going anywhere."
No, George Bland is going to kick field goals for him.
Hey, Billy and David have no clue who George Bland is.
No, I know it.
I've heard of him, but I don't have fond memories of George Bland.
What in the world?
I mean, grow up and do some homework, Billy.
Really?
There's only so much growing up I can do to try to find a black and white.
Have David look him up. Have David look George Bland up.
You know what? It was color.
It was colored.
No, you're darn tooting it was.
Okay.
Do you have other news of the day?
I do. Some Notre Dame news. Some fighting.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Longtime athletic director Jack Swarbrick is stepping down next year, and he's going to be replaced by NBC Sports chairman Pete Bavacqua. He's a Notre Dame graduate, so you got to believe that NBC Sports contract will stay intact for Notre Dame in the coming years. But interesting. I totally forgot Swarbrick had planned to step down. I don't think he had established when he was going to step down officially, but good for Notre Dame.
Will there be a moment of silence in your home?
Potentially, maybe. Yeah. But I mean, this is not a.
Does anybody care about this, or what does it matter?
Well,
Kelly, this is the off season. I mean, we don't have multitude of football games to talk about.
But we have one other note before we go to the break.
Let's see if anybody cares about this.
And then we're going to talk some serious football during this hour. Kelly, you have been making fun of my golf game, and rightfully so. Yeah. You have said on the air that I can't hit a drive more than 150. Rightfully so. Okay? So today, I went over to X Golf, and I got into the 170s. Oh, yeah.
170 with
170.
I can hit an 8-iron 170, George.
Like a dope, I left my driver over there.
That's shocking.
Okay. So I went and got it today, and I decided, and I told Jason, the owner, I'm getting trashed by Kelly Holcomb. He said, and I quote, "Tell Kelly to stuff it." Actually, he didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that.
I got the 170. I was feeling pretty good about it.
I mean, if you'll get in the gym and get you a routine going every day, and we get you in shape, I mean, you'll get up to 200.
I think within 6 weeks, I'll be approaching 200. I'll give more updates.
I don't know.
They are warranted.
You'll have a back flare up by then, I'm sure.
I can see that being a possibility. Kelly, let me tell you about the first thing we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
We're going out on the West Coast and talk about a story that really has gotten not as much pub as I think it should have. The Holiday Bowl, which has always been one of the most entertaining bowls on the bowl circuit. They have filed suit against the Pac-12, the California Board of Regents, all of this around UCLA, pulling out of the game when COVID was going on 5 hours before kickoff.
Yeah.
We're headed west after the break. You try to behave until then.
All right. Sounds good.
From our beautiful digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, the George Plaster Show continues after this.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
If you're looking for a football camp for your son or daughter that stresses the fundamentals and doing things right, let me suggest the Hometown Football Camp. Here's former MTSU quarterback Wes Counts.
The Hometown Football Camp is a youth football camp at Battleground Academy, June 19th through 21st. This is a working skills camp for young football players to learn proper technique and skills to prepare them for the upcoming season. Our coaches have won championships at both high school and college levels and are eager to pass along their knowledge. So if the young football player in your life wants to be successful this fall, send them to the Hometown Football Camp. Register at hometownfootballcamp.com. That's hometownfootballcamp.com.
Okay, we're headed west here in just a moment, and I will tell you up front, there is a chance I will butcher a very good writer's name. I'm going to try it, and then I'm going to get him to tell me, okay, was I even close or not in the ballpark? Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports joins us. On a scale of 0 to 100, where was I?
I'd give you about a 7. You got the last name perfectly right, and then the first name is Shehan, so pretty close.
Shehan,
pretty close.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I was close. What's the worst it's gotten butchered?
Oh my gosh. The thing that kills me is when people just give up halfway through and just like go off in some random string of letters. So I appreciate you making the effort at least.
Absolutely. So I was telling people, and I think you heard a little bit of the story, kind of for people who've not heard this, just run through exactly what's gone on. And then I'll both me and Kelly will pepper a few questions in your direction.
Well, it's a strange situation to say the least. Obviously, the Holiday Bowl has been a partner with the Pac-12 for just about 25 years at this point. This is a game that they play year in and year out, previously with the Big 12, now with the ACC. But in 2021, of course, that first year after the pandemic, UCLA was forced to pull out of that bowl game because of some positive COVID cases, and it came really close to game time. And the Holiday Bowl, look, they knew that it was a possibility that teams would pull out. They didn't play the game in 2020 because of COVID, of course. But, this late announcement, the fact that they didn't have enough time in order to kind of pull in and have an opportunity to maybe court some other teams to participate in the game meant that from their perspective, it cost them more than $3 million just to have the team pull out and not play the game in terms of what they had to deliver back, in terms of contracts that were non-refundable. And so this past year, when Oregon participated in the game, the Holiday Bowl decided to withhold their payment to the University of Oregon because they felt like the Pac-12 had not reimbursed them the year before. So the Pac-12 had accused or had said that they would potentially want to sue the Holiday Bowl. Now the Holiday Bowl decided to strike first and sue the Pac-12 instead. So it's a whole mess over here. I think that we can probably be safe to assume that long-term, the Holiday Bowl will not be on the Pac-12's radar heading forward.
So let me ask this one. We had a situation here locally where Tennessee and the University of Memphis were scheduled to play neutral site at Bridgestone Arena in downtown Nashville. And the truth of it is they don't like each other. They don't have, this is not a warm and fuzzy kind of rivalry. This has been a little ugly. Penny Hardaway and Tennessee's coach really have not gotten along for a good while. And there was a belief that the game got called about an hour before it was going to be played in front of basically 18,000. The tickets sold like crazy. In this case, is the Holiday Bowl at all saying this is foul play? This was set up to fail?
So I think that's one thing that they're really pointing to is the level of communication or lack thereof before. Because, in the days ahead, Chip Kelly and UCLA were pretty adamant that if we have the opportunity to participate in this game, we're willing to do it, even if it's not with the full complement of our roster. And we saw around the country, there was the famous LSU versus Kansas State game where LSU only had 37 scholarship players participate in that game, but they didn't want to cancel that game. And so we saw instances of other schools around the country play with less than full rosters. According to reporting from the Action Network, there were only 3 true positive cases. Now, of course, that doesn't count contact tracing. That doesn't count how it might impact other position groups. But I think that that's part of the Holiday Bowl's frustration is that in the days before the game, they were adamant, we're going to play in this game. We're going to make it work. We don't care who shows up. We're going to play. And then the second that things obviously went sideways, there was that lack of communication just hours before game time. Like you said, people already showing up to the game. People had made plans to come to the game, sponsors that had made obligations based on that game, and to not let them know in a timely fashion. And then obviously, again, we saw situations like with, I believe it was UConn got the chance to play in a bowl game. No, it was Rutgers, sorry, at 5-7 that same year, because they were given enough of a chance to be able to come and replace another team in a bowl game. So I think that's a big part of their frustration was the lack of communication. Again, sometimes this stuff just happens. You mentioned, of course, the Tennessee versus Memphis game. I know that up in South Dakota, Baylor versus Gonzaga back in the 21-22 season was supposed to happen, and it didn't. I mean, sometimes there's not a whole lot that you can do, but there's a whole lot of frustration coming from this one.
What hits me is, as you talked through that right there, is, my God, during that time, we were in wilderness. I mean, we've sort of gotten back to normal for the most part, but then all of a sudden you get a reminder of how crazy and how bad it really was.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And, we have these situations, obviously, where we have contracts for non-conference games that were kind of scrapped after the 2020 season. We have these situations where obviously some bowl games either lost sponsors or stopped existing even in some cases because of obviously the financial impact of that time. So there are so many little ways that the pandemic is still impacting what we're doing day to day in college athletics. Certainly you have to look at that pandemic redshirt year as being chief among them. And so I think that, like you said, when you look back at that time, the amount of games that were canceled, the amount of obligations that were lost, and obviously, I think that that's part of it. You mentioned that phrase, good faith efforts. I think that if it was a good faith effort, if people were notified before time, that's kind of just a loss that I think a bowl game has to take on at times. But it is, I think they feel like they were owed some level of notice and some level of reimbursement. And ultimately, the courts will decide that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you one more thing, then I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, after you finish, I'm going to go back and ask Shehan a couple of Pac-12 expansion kind of questions. Shehan, am I right that they tried to get around a bargaining table to try to find a solution, and they weren't able to? Best as you know, were they even close?
Yeah, I don't believe that they were all that close. I mean, again, this is a game that has had a partnership with the Pac-12 for 25 years, essentially. It's right in the Pac-12's backyard in San Diego historically. And so I don't think that they got as close as they wanted. Obviously, nobody wants to take this public, go to court, go to discovery. It's not good for either side. I think that ultimately we probably will find some sort of settlement by one side or the other to make this go away. But, the thing is, right, think about how desperate a bowl game, I think, needs to be to get to this point. I mean, this isn't just jeopardizing their relationship with the Pac-12. In some ways, it's jeopardizing their relationship with college football. Nobody wants to be a part of a game that they're worried might sue them after the fact. And so I do think that they were pretty far apart. I think this was a last resort in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, again, we'll have to kind of see long-term how this impacts the status of the Holiday Bowl.
Kelly, what do you got?
Well, I was just going to ask, I know this was in the COVID year. I understand that and all that, but does this happen a bunch between bowl games and certain teams or certain conferences with suing and things like that, where things don't go the way they're supposed to? Does that happen that more than we know, or is this just like a one-time deal?
Well, this is quite unusual. One thing that I think I want people to think about is these bowl games have staffs that are full-time, that frankly are compensated extremely well. And really their only job in a lot of ways is to maintain those relationships, is to not rock the boat, is to make sure that the game gets re-upped and they continue to send teams there and conferences want to be involved. And so, no, this is very unusual to have a situation where obviously a bowl game is in litigation against a conference. Like I mentioned, it's going to be interesting long-term to kind of see, does this dissuade people from participating in the Holiday Bowl? Does this obviously, again, I'd imagine that the Pac-12, after their contract is up next season, will probably not be interested in re-upping this game. Do other conferences then have that same level of interest? So a lot of existential questions, but to answer the base question, no, this is very unusual.
So let me ask you this. I read your article. I know that the Holiday Bowl is suing the Pac-12, but it looked like that the Pac-12 is going to try to sue the Holiday Bowl. Is that still going through or no?
It hasn't been filed at this time. I think that it's pretty likely that there will be a countersuit and it will kind of go back and forth and be decided in civil court. Ultimately, right, I think that whenever one side sues another, it's about trying to take control of that message, right? It's the Holiday Bowl trying to take control and say, we were the ones who were wronged by this situation, by UCLA, by the Pac-12. We weren't reimbursed. We're owed that money, as opposed, of course, the Pac-12 would say, you didn't pay our team for participating in that bowl game back in 2022, speaking of Oregon. And so now, obviously, I think that, again, this throws everything out of whack. One thing to note is that the 2023 bowl schedule was announced, and the Holiday Bowl does not have a set time or date at this point. It is right now, it's up in the air. And certainly I think that the participants will also be up in the air pending legislation. So I think that there probably will be countersuits at some point, but we're just going to have to wait and see what the civil process goes through.
Okay, so let me take it another way. Since I'm a football guy, how does we're going to stay in the Pac-12, obviously, but how does Deion Sanders has been making waves at Colorado? I just saw where his other son just transferred from Jackson State Shiloh, and he's got his son that's probably going to start at quarterback, who's a really good player. But how do you see him doing his first year in Colorado? I mean, he's making waves. There's no doubt about that.
Well, we've never seen anything like this before. Obviously, when you have 85 players on a roster and 70 of them are flipping in one offseason, it's unprecedented. We've never seen an example of not having infrastructure in place, of having a whole new roster in place, and trying to build depth on the fly. And I think that's going to be the most interesting part of this whole experiment is, can you build quality depth through the transfer portal? Because everybody likes to point at that top 22. A lot of teams have good top 22s, but really it is spots 23 through 85. That's why Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and all these sorts of teams continue to win at this high level, is because of the depth they're able to build. So Colorado's trying to do it on the fly. They're trying to do it through obviously transfers. They're trying to bring in guys who maybe were undervalued at other places, but are there 50 players in the portal who are worth playing at this kind of level, that can provide depth, that can survive the rigors of a Pac-12 schedule? And the Pac-12 is going to be pretty dang good this year. So it's going to be a really big test, I think, for them. I imagine that, look, the upside is going to be there. They're going to win probably a game or two that they have no business winning because of the high-end talent like Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, like obviously Travis Hunter, the former #1 overall recruit at both wide receiver and cornerback. But in terms of week-to-week consistency, it's just hard for me to see it.
Yeah, I got you. It seems like I've asked everybody this. I know George and all those guys are getting irritated at me for asking this question, but I know how coaches feel, how former players feel. I want to know how a writer feels about the transfer portal. Is it here to stay? It seems like it is. It's just free agency in college football is what it is. And, I mean, there's a lot of people making some waves with that, getting some good players in that, obviously don't get to play here, but they go here and they make a name for themselves. What's your thoughts on the transfer portal?
Well, I think the portal itself is certainly a positive. I think that it's good for players to have an opportunity to go where they want to go. I think where we've reached some real complications is integrating that piece of the transfer portal with this 1-year free transfer with NIL. I think that mixing all those things together has made things really complicated. And certainly if you're a member of a staff, right, it's not having roster certainty at a certain point, knowing that, after spring camp, you could lose 20 kids off your roster that you didn't expect to lose. So I think that right now it is so much of a feeding frenzy because it's new and because everybody thinks they're going to get their great next opportunity and every team thinks they're going to completely rebuild their roster. I think that as we start to see that there's limits to maybe what you can accomplish both as a player and as a coaching staff through the transfer portal, I think it's going to settle down a little bit. And I do think, when you start to look at long-term builds, I think you look at Georgia, you look at Alabama, you look at what they've done. They're not building things on the fly. In fact, I think you can point to Alabama last year as a team that failed to build things on the fly. It's the teams that I think are steady year over year that and maybe use the portal to fill certain holes that have the best chance to succeed. So I do think, again, it's a feeding frenzy right now. It's a lot right now. It's chaotic right now. There probably need to be some guardrails put in place just in terms of how the process works. But I do think that eventually it's going to be a net positive for college football.
Well, it seems like they're trying to put some guardrails on the NIL stuff as well, because they're starting to get, politicians in it talking about we got to, all this money. So there's a lot of stuff that's thrown at these young kids. I can't imagine. And I've always said that young kids being a scholarship guy when I played in college, you get a guy like myself who came from, I wasn't rich or anything, but I still had a little bit of money. Then you get other guys that had really nothing. Well, they can't go out to the movies and take a girl out to eat or get gasoline or things like that. So they do need money, but man, this NIL it's a new deal. And when you're giving a kid from UT $8 million, promise him $8 million, and he's 18 years old, that's a lot for a kid.
No doubt. And I think the other piece of this too, right, is you're going to be in a situation as a player where you're ultimately always a free agent with the way that things are working right now, right? We see in the NFL and the NBA, it's not supposed to work like that. You're supposed to have some level of roster certainty. So I think that, the complicating factors of all this, of course, are that they don't have sort of these relationships as an employee-employer relationship where you can have maybe collective bargaining or price controls or things like that. Maybe that's something that comes down the line. It's hard to know. But I do think that, again, we're going to need to find some way to settle things down. One thing that I think that maybe is a little undervalued that could impact things is that the NCAA passed legislation last year that makes it much more difficult to get immediate eligibility on a second transfer. So maybe that sort of says, you get one shot at this. You have one try to help your circumstance. And if you can't, then you're kind of stuck where you're at. And maybe that ends up being a good thing.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. I'll throw you back to George. Thanks for it. Appreciate it.
So, Shehan, next time you write about the transfer portal, you are free to use this line. I'm really proud of it. I announced, a little cynical, I announced a few weeks ago that the Rose Bowl, the parade would have a transfer portal float, and that JT Daniels would be the guy going, hey, how's everybody? Nice to see you. Good to see you. Just remember that. So leave me with this. If the Pac-10, good Lord, if the Pac-12 could wave a magic wand and they could get whoever it is they want now that UCLA and USC are leaving, who would it be?
Well, for the record, you might accidentally be right about this. It might be the Pac-10 all over again with the 10 heading forward. But I think that if there's a no-brainer candidate for them to bring in at this point, I think it's San Diego State. It accomplishes a couple things for them. One, it allows them to still be in that Southern California footprint. That's really important to the branding of the conference. It's really important to recruiting to be located right there in Southern California. And certainly by losing UCLA and USC, that's a huge knock at that. So I think that that's a huge part of it. It's a big state school. I think that that's significant. They don't have as many of those, I think, as they need. And the other part of it, too, is you look at the success that San Diego State has had over the past couple of years. I think it makes them a relative no-brainer in order to bring in. The issue is after that, it becomes complicated. I don't think there's another Power 5 program right now that would be open to leaving, whether from the Big 12 or from the ACC for the Pac-12. Certainly you look at a program like Boise State potentially. Maybe you look at a Colorado State, a UNLV. I think that those are potential growth markets. But the question is, what's the upside, right? What exactly is the upside? How much value are they exactly bringing? So I think that it's pretty likely that San Diego State in the next year or so does become a member of the Pac-12. But after that, it's kind of hard to say.
Does anybody say the G word, Gonzaga basketball only?
We haven't heard very much of that from a Pac-12 perspective. There is rumor, there is report that it's happened. Conversations have happened in the past, but I think realistically right now, the Pac-12 is trying to solidify itself from a football perspective. And, I'd contrast that to maybe a conference like the Big 12 that obviously is looking to go potentially big in on basketball. So I don't anticipate that at this time, but it's always something to keep an eye on.
Shehan, thank you for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shehan Jeyarajah, I got it right, joining us from CBS Sports to talk about that. After the break, Kelly's World of Football is as Titan-related as it gets. So if you care about the Titans, you better load up and listen to this conversation because it's going to get your attention. Now, let's talk Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. You see the dates at the bottom of the screen. I've been very honest. I've never been to a Grand Prix. I'll be at this one, and I'm excited about it. Part of the reason is because there are people like me who will admit, never been to one. But all of a sudden in the last 2 years, they've gone, and they're saying things like, it's one of the coolest sporting events I've ever been to. Now, they have really gone absolutely incredible on the music that will be there during those 3 days. You'll want to go to their website not only for that, but to purchase tickets. MusicCityGP.com. That's MusicCityGP.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
It's a moment you have breathlessly awaited. It's time for Kelly Holcomb's World of Football. As shocking as this may sound, Kelly Holcomb's World of Football has sponsors. It's brought to you in part by Baird Financial with Yaz Hassan and Justin Oldham, and by State Farm Insurance, located in Murfreesboro, through agent Celeste Middleton. Okay, this will be one of the, boy, that was an interesting ending to that. This will be one of the more important editions of this that we have had. So I've made fun as kind of a smart aleck about this. DeAndre Hopkins is making a visit to Nashville. But let's talk through the minutia of this. Kelly, let's start with this question. If DeAndre Hopkins were to sign with the Titans, would they then be considered, in a crappy division, dead even with Jacksonville?
Maybe. Could. I can't. I don't know if I can answer that question, George. I just, I always say that I'm not behind closed doors with everything. I don't know how things go down with the Titans organization or with any organization that matter, but he's a really good receiver. Now, he's getting a little age on him, but he's a really good receiver. He's obviously with the Texans and with the Cardinals. He's got a huge catch radius. He's definitely an upgrade. But you have to have a guy like that on your team to be able to make plays. If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, you look at all these other teams that have got playmakers on their teams, there's a quarterback is going to go to who he feels comfortable with and who he knows is going to get open. And DeAndre Hopkins through the years has showed everyone that's watched him that he's a really good route runner. He understands the game. He knows when to sit in a zone. He knows when to run against man. And he's got a huge catch radius. He can catch the ball. He can make plays. And it's definitely an upgrade from what they've got. They've got some young guys with, obviously Traylon Burks and the Westbrook Akine kid and Kyle Phillips and Chris Moore and some of those guys, but like they're just guys. I've never really heard of them. So they're all trying to make a name for themselves. But I think that if he does come, George, I think that gives the Titans a little bit more credibility than they had, obviously.
Okay, so here's some more thought. He's at an age where you would think he would be into I want to wear a ring. I want to win a ring. I want to win a title.
Right.
Instead of how much money is the most I can get. There's no way he can sit there truthfully right now and say, I'm going to a championship contender. They simply are not. And I don't really see where in the next year or two that's going to change. So why is he making the visit here?
That's a really good question, George. I think probably he's obviously comfortable with Mike Vrabel, which I don't know what kind of interactions they had when they were at the Texans. He was the defensive coordinator, and DeAndre Hopkins is an offensive player. I know I used to mess with some of the defensive guys all the time, and you get close with some of them. Maybe he got close with Mike Vrabel. Just like the other day when I was talking about the coaches, I really love Todd Bowles, a great guy. Used to talk to him quite a bit. There's defensive guys that you just come in contact with, like Chuck Pagano. I really liked Chuck Pagano a lot when I was in Cleveland. So he might have gotten a familiarity with Mike Vrabel, and that's why he's coming here first. Now, I said this is a tough time of the year to get let go, and people are trying to figure out what they've got. They've got all their veteran guys, and then they've had the draft. They've got a bunch of unrestricted free agents or free agents from college that's come in. So they're trying to figure out what they've got right now. Now, if there's a glaring need from a team, like I said, with Dalvin Cook, where obviously he's an upgrade for the Miami Dolphins. So if Minnesota's going to let him go, he's got a place to go. I'm not sure that that's there for DeAndre Hopkins. So that might be reason that he's coming here first. Who knows? If it was me and I was his age, I would be thinking about, where can I go to win some games and have a shot at playing for a Super Bowl, because he's never been to one. So that's where I'm looking. If I've got all the accolades that DeAndre Hopkins has got, and I know my skill set, and I know that I've done it, I've been there, I've played at the top of this game for a long time, I want to go win a championship. I want to get paid reasonably well, but I want to win a championship. I'm not sure that the Tennessee Titans, as of right now, gives him that opportunity. But who knows? We got to let this stuff play out.
Okay. The most obvious to me is Kansas City. And of course, a lot of people would say, well, duh, they throw it all over the place. But Kelly, if you remember, during the playoffs last year, Kansas City had a bunch of receivers get hurt, and they could have really used DeAndre Hopkins. Is it possible that he's saying to Kansas City here, do not lowball me, because these people know they're going to have to pay some decent bucks? And Terry McCormick is telling me from Main Street Media that the Titans now have the money to do a pretty legitimate deal. Is it possible this visit is really aimed at Kansas City?
It's possible. Anything's possible, George. I mean, it could be aimed at the Buffalo Bills. It could be aimed at the Cincinnati Bengals. It could be aimed at I don't know who he's talking to, but I know I understand he's got some visits, but I just don't know. There is one thing though, when you go to a Kansas City where Travis Kelce's kind of the guy. When you're a DeAndre Hopkins and you've done it for as long as he's done it, you kind of want to be the guy when you go somewhere. And I'm not saying that these other places he couldn't be the guy, but if you go to Buffalo, you got Stephon Diggs. If you go to if you're thinking about going to Cincinnati, you got the Jamar Chase kid. So I know that Tyreek Hill is in Miami. So, I mean, maybe that's what's intriguing DeAndre Hopkins to come here, because they don't really have a named guy. And there's a lot of guys that enjoy being the top guy, but also helping younger guys try to get their game to another level. So maybe that's the kind of guy that DeAndre Hopkins is, and maybe that's why he's taking this trip here.
Let me ask you guys down below here. Is there a list out there of places that he's going to visit besides the Titans? Have you all seen that?
I haven't seen any list. I mean, it feels like the Titans are the only one really so far that it's on his radar. And I think he might. I mean, that might be Vrabel saying, "Hey, let's be your first visit. Let's get you over here and let's see what you got." I mean, and I think that's Vrabel's relationship. So I don't know about you, David. I haven't seen. The only team on the radar has been the Titans, at least so far for me.
Yeah, the only really list I saw was he went on a podcast a few weeks ago and said, these are the quarterbacks I would like to play with at some point, or I wish I played with in my career. The Eagles and Jalen Hurts were on that list. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City, Tua and the Dolphins, and Josh Allen with the Bills. The Titans and, their situation at quarterback never came up. Tannehill and Levis might not be the most intriguing option compared to the four that I mentioned. But it's interesting to see. I don't see the fit with the Titans. Just, they're not a contender in my eyes to win a championship, and that's something that he really wants to do. But he's really familiar with Mike Vrabel, played under his staff when he was defensive coordinator in Houston. So it's interesting to see what happens.
Does the potential addition of DeAndre Hopkins make the Titans a playoff contender?
Well, if the division sucks, yes.
Maybe, yes.
It's more based on, does Jacksonville stay where they've been, regress a little? Who knows?
Could he be that A.J. Brown? I think that's what obviously a lot of people are hoping, but you never know.
Look, in what they have on campus, he's Calvin Johnson.
But does his age and his injury concerns worry you a little bit? He's struggled with some health, staying healthy, and that's a problem the Titans have had the last few years. Him and his availability, that's the best ability.
I'm really willing to take a shot. I make this joke, but what are they going to do? Run the wishbone?
Yeah, that's anybody. Anybody can get hurt, and when you start getting up there in age, injuries happen. Things like that happen. But he's definitely a guy that you would want to bring if you have a chance. You want to bring on your roster because he's done it at a high level. He can play. Vrabel's been with him, obviously, and he can help these young guys become professional football players. And maybe there's a guy in this that could use the tutelage of DeAndre Hopkins, but it's a tough time right now to get let go unless somebody is really needing something. And it goes back to cliche of beggars can't be choosy. And
okay, I'm going to run through two that nobody's thought about. It's easy. Any moron can get on here. I just happen to be your moron. Kansas City, Buffalo, Philly, San Fran. Man, that's easy stuff. Now, let's give you two that are a little off the beaten path here. Could you make the claim that DeAndre Hopkins as a Detroit Lion pushes them completely over the top?
You could. I watched the deal yesterday on Dan Campbell and read something. You gotta love what the Detroit Lions are doing. I think they became everybody's media darling since they were on the HBO show Hard Knocks. And I really like what they did last year. I think they got a lot of confidence. They started off really bad, and everybody said, well, here we go again, the same old Detroit Lions. But they had a chance there at the end of the year to get into the playoffs. And I think Jared Goff's playing well. I think he's found his spot. I think he fits that place. I think he fits what Dan Campbell wants to do. He's got some guys around him. They got Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft who – that's what they needed. They thought they needed a running back who could do things on first and second down and on third down. So I really like what the Detroit Lions are doing. And absolutely, George, I think that he could be a spoke in that wheel that they need.
So I'm going to throw one more out there. Once they stupidly let Amari Cooper out the door, could you now make the claim you put DeAndre Hopkins in Dallas?
Yep.
He's Cooper's equal, if not better, and that you elevate them considerably in my mind?
I think so too. I think he would be a nice compliment to CeeDee Lamb, but there goes that deal again. Like, he's been the number one guy. can you, at some point, guys got to realize and put their egos aside that, hey, I'm not the number one dude anymore, but if I'm willing to be like, they're going to throw the ball more to CD Lamb, but I'm going to get some too, but I'm going to win a lot of games. Am I willing to do that? So I think that's probably at the point of the career that DeAndre Hopkins is in, but I think he would help them tremendously. And everybody's talking about Dallas being, on the cusp of being the Super Bowl, those top 5 teams, 6 or 7 teams with their offensive line, and then Mike McCarthy's taking over the play calling. So it's going to be a different Dallas team, and they've got an unbelievable defense who can get pressure on you. They got guys in the back end that can cover guys. They got good linebackers. They've got a really good team. So I think that DeAndre Hopkins could be a huge upgrade for them to help CD Lamb and help the offense and Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott needs all the help he can get sometimes. I like him. I've always liked him. But when it comes to a critical down, that he's been there, done that, and he can get you the first down.
Okay, after the break, we'll go stat of the day, which is probably a baseball question where we're going to need Danny Evans' help. He is at Coors Field today. I am so jealous watching the Rockies and the San Francisco Giants. He will join us for what will be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We've got plenty more coming.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or eric@rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication. And we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards, in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
It is that time of the afternoon. It is time for Kelly Holcomb's favorite segment of the show. It is time for Stat of the Day, presented to you by the good folks at John English Antique Sports and Cards, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. 204 East Depot Street is where you can find them. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So give them a call at 931-492-4304 with former Dodgers GM and baseball savant. That's what he is. He's a savant. Danny Evans in the on-deck circle. We will go to Miami and South Beach. Luis Ariz of the Miami Marlins is currently hitting .403 through the Marlins' first 63 games this season. He already has 27 multi-hit games to date. Since 2000, can you name the player with the highest average through his team's first 60 games?
Oh, Lord.
Danny has been absolutely whipping my tail at Stat of the Day. So I tried to draw first blood this afternoon.
He is at Coors Field in Denver, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. Danny Tony Gwynn had retired by then, correct?
What's the year again, George?
2000.
Since 2000.
Yeah, Tony, I think was done. I would guess Nomar Garcia-Parra.
Wow. Okay, that's not where I expected you to go. Kelly, anything out there that has you drooling and saying, I've got it?
Nomar Garcia-Parra.
Somebody in the chat for Peter.
I don't see it. I don't have a clue. Not even a clue. But hold on a second.
Wait a second. No, it's all right. Okay.
You're going with Nomar. Just hold on a second. I got to think this through a second. I wish I'd seen this one early. Not that I think it would have helped to any great extent. Ichiro.
I like the guesses.
That's a good one.
I like the guesses, but I finally got Danny. It is Joe Mauer.
Oh, good Lord.
2009. He batted .415. The second highest average was Chipper Jones in 2008.
Yeah, he was on fire for a while. Ichiro is not a bad one. I bet he's close.
Ariz was tied for third with Todd Helton of the Rockies, but it is Joe Mauer. So I finally got Danny. I feel good about myself.
Congratulations.
And that's a good one, Billy, but just think about Joe Mauer and what a great player he was prior to his concussion problems. This guy was a catcher, winning 3 batting championships and an MVP. He stays healthy. He's one of the best players of all time.
Oh, wow.
Danny, let me ask you this. When I said Ichiro, did you say to yourself, he might be right?
No, because I was with the Mariners for 7 years, and I think the highest he was at was about 385, George. It's a heck of a guess. He's one of the greatest hitters of all time, but he didn't walk very much, and as a result, it was hard for his batting average to really be that lofty.
Are you allowed by Major League rule to show me the stadium at all?
Well.
Oh, man. Look at that. Oh, I love it. Okay, so right now you're up in the Euchre seats.
I am. I'm in section 312. My seats are in the fourth row behind the plate, but it's warm and there was a lot of people around me. So I thought, get out of the sun, come up here, sit up in the purple row. This ballpark's great, George. And Kelly, you need to know this. This is kind of fun. The 20th row of the top section of the ballpark is marked by a purple row. And that indicates exactly 1 mile high altitude-wise here at this location. So I'm at about 5,262 feet.
The park, and give me another look at it if you can. The park takes a little bit of a bad rap because of the altitude, and a lot of runs get scored, and pitchers don't want to pitch there. But, Danny, it looks like one of the most beautiful ballparks in America.
It is, George. It's one of my 5 favorite parks in the big leagues. Great fan services. They have an amazing, elite customer service group. The food, let's just say, really good. Lots of kettle corn in the building. I've already had a brat and a dog, and it's a great place to see a game.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. I am so envious. So let me start like this. Everybody's, Braves, Mets. And boy, these are 2 big wins to get 7.5 ahead of the Mets. But somebody forgot to tell somebody the Marlins are in second place, 3 out with that good young pitching. And frankly, they've done it without Alcantara being what he was a year ago. Danny, how legit are they to maybe move past the Braves?
George, first, I'm very biased because one of my best proteges of my lifetime, Kim Ng, is the first female GM and runs the Marlins, works for me 2 different times. And so I'm rooting for her to do exceptionally well. I think they're legit. I don't think they're as good as the Braves, but here's one of the problems the Braves face, and for that matter, National League clubs face. They've got a great farm system. So she can trade for players that she needs at the deadline, and that is a weapon in baseball. I think it's a great story. I think they and the Reds, the Rangers, are great stories right now in the second week of June. I think the Mets-Braves series is big, George. It's bigger for the Mets than it is the Braves, and it's been terrific. The Braves have played very, very well, but I think the Marlins are creeping up on a lot of baseball fans, and I think what we have is a team definitely on the rise moving forward.
Braves and Marlins, by the way, have a 3-game series in Atlanta right at the start, the end of June, the start of July, which might be very interesting. So I know you know her well, obviously. You all have a lot of background. In the past, when the Marlins have gotten good, they've shot themselves in the foot because they haven't had enough money, and they sell off Christian Yelich and Ozuna and I'm missing one, and I can't remember who it was. Stanton. Good Lord, how could I have missed that one? Are they past all that?
Well, new ownership, new team president, a female, a wonderful, talented business executive, a new ballpark, and a general manager who's as shrewd and as strategic as there is. Yes, I believe long foul ball. I thought I had a shot for a moment here. I think they're long past it, and I think for the well-being of their franchise, they need to be past it, given where they are. You know, George, a couple of years ago, they were in the wild card, if you remember, during one of the strike-shortened seasons, and it was a precursor. You thought they were going to start to climb. I think they're definitely on the way right now.
And, of course, I I care. Jacob Stallings, Kevin's son, is one of their catchers. He's struggled hitting, but boy, defensively, he makes a throw last night in the late innings to gun down a potential base stealer. Man, can he throw.
Yeah, big time. And you know, the thing about a catcher, George, with his defensive skills, he's going to get enough plate appearances to try to get out of his hitting problems, because if you can catch and call a game, you're going to get plate appearances.
So let's go to Cincinnati. In Nashville, we see a lot of their games because they're piped in here regardless of the extra innings package. And Danny, there's something going on there. Now, they didn't win today against Clayton Kershaw, but they've rallied twice to beat the Dodgers. This kid, De La Cruz, looks like the best prospect we've seen maybe since Ronald Acuna. How close are the Reds to a breakout?
Well, let's just preface the comments. The Reds are on the climb, and quickly. And they've got a big advantage. They're in a soft division. So their climb will not be what it would be in the AL East or the AL West or the NL West or, you know, for that matter, the NL East. It wouldn't happen. But all they got to do is win between 81 and 85 games. They got a shot in the NL Central. Nick Krall is terrific. They've had a great series of drafts. They drafted early. But George, oh my, De La Cruz is a treat to watch. He is so highly skilled. He's got a great throwing arm. Switch hitter with power from both sides. That ball got out in a hurry yesterday. It's got a chance to be an exciting player. I love the Acuna comparison. They're very similar in that they're that rare five-tool guy, but you add the fact this kid can play shortstop, and this kid hits from both sides. Oh my, 21 years old. We're going to really enjoy watching him play, and losing to Clayton is not anything to be worried about because he's won at a higher percentage than anybody in baseball since 1920. So losing to him is never a big deal.
Okay, baseball has had, Danny, two situations come up in the last week to 10 days that are really sad ones. First of all, let's go with Jacob deGrom first, because, you know, there were these storm clouds out there when the Rangers made the signing. I admire the Rangers for the try, but Danny, it's an easy second guess to say, wait a minute, we all knew there was something wrong before he ever signed.
Imagine where they would be if he was healthy. I think when you're trying to rebuild, you're trying to rejuvenate fan interest, sometimes you roll the dice and it doesn't work. They've rolled the dice on a bunch of different moves, and they have worked. When healthy, this guy is elite. He's one of the top 2 or 3 pitchers in the game, literally unhittable. Probably the most unhittable starting pitcher in the game when healthy. The problem, George, he's got an elongated history of problems to the point where they couldn't even get insurance on him. So, you know, it's a tough thing. It's a hard situation. But deGrom healthy is spectacular. And I give Young a lot of credit. He gave it a shot. You know, deGrom will be back at some point. He might not be the same guy, but 80% of Jacob deGrom is still an above-average big league pitcher.
Hey, the other one, you know where I'm going with Steven Strasburg. When he came out of school, I mean, we all were just like, this is a freak. He is so good. And Danny, it feels like he's never going to get the chance to show us the best. Not that he's had a horrible career or anything like that, but for me, this is so sad.
It is, George. When guys are healthy and you see the elite talent, and then they don't get a chance to play that out, we all lose out. Sure, the player loses out, So does the organization and the fan base. But the players and the fans, are devastated. You don't get to see the excellence. I saw the kid in college. He was unbelievable. He had, periods of excellence. You think about that postseason when they won the World Series. He was as good as there could be. But George, since then, I don't think he's thrown 50 innings. And he has 3.5 more years on his contract. But if you look in comparison, the Nationals signed Scherzer just a few years earlier. And Scherzer is one of the greatest free agent signings ever. So they took 2 bites of the apple and one worked out really well.
So I got a question before we go to the break. Are there people up there in that 300 level looking at you going, what the hell's this guy doing?
A whole bunch of them. They're looking, going, not only is this guy talking to himself, but he's got this phone in front of him. And what the heck's going on? And why would he be talking? Why would he be talking about baseball when he's at a game? Come on.
I love it. Hey, give me another shot of Coors Field as we go out to the commercial break. This is
my Roy Kent jersey on. I'm a goldfish today.
Oh, I love this. This is a park I've never been to, and it's on my little bucket list of baseball parks. Am I right? It's downtown's right behind it.
Oh, it's right behind me. Oh yeah, I could walk to the train station. It's 2 blocks away. That's how I got here today. This is a glorious ballpark in my home city. I love it here. So I'm lucky, George. I used my MLB Gold Pass, my lifetime pass that MLB was kind enough to give me about 25 years ago. And I come here for every day game because I can, and I love to watch the game.
I love it. Is it close to where the Nuggets play?
Yes, 6 blocks away.
Oh, wow. So it's all kind of in that. How about the Broncos place in Vesco?
About a mile away.
So they're all in kind of a little circle, aren't they?
Yeah, our little city downtown rocks, George. And you come here, you come visit us. I will get you here, and you'll have a lot of fun in this wonderful ballpark.
I love it. I'm going to take you up on it before it's over. We'll go to the break. Danny Evans at the ballpark talking baseball. People are looking at him going, this guy's a psycho. But he's not. He's really good. And Kelly Holcomb will have the questions when we come back to Coors Field. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
By the way, unless Danny gives me an update from my update, Colorado at home leads the Giants 4-1 in the early innings. They're around the top of the fifth. So, Kelly, say hello to Danny Evans. People are looking at him going, what's wrong with this guy?
Well, Danny, you could bet one thing. I'm not going to ask you to look at Coors Field one more time because George is acting like a nerd and he's never seen any kind of stadium before in his life.
Hold on a second.
We're just humoring him, Kelly. Come on now, right?
And he's right there with me. Man, there's nothing better than a good-looking ballpark.
I will say this. Danny looks like he's in heaven on earth. That's for sure.
I am. And Kelly, I am drooling because I know I'm going to get another bratwurst in about half an hour. So I'm going to be really good in a couple minutes.
How's the weather? Is it nice and cool up where you're sitting?
Yeah, I'm out of the sun, Kelly. It's 78 degrees today under, I'd say, partly cloudy skies. I'm looking into the distance and I can see the Flatirons and Boulder at the top of the stadium. So, I'm not complaining, Kelly. It's good to be me right now.
You look like you're having a good time. Well, you answered one of my questions. I was going to ask you if you had to pay or if you got in free.
I'm a lucky guy, Kelly. I worked 40 plus years in the game, and I think it was 2004, 2003. I got a special delivery from Major League Baseball. I didn't know what it was. I opened it up. I was in the Dodgers offices or the Mariners office, I forget. And it was a letter from Bud Selig giving me a lifetime gold pass entry to any big league game for myself and a guest for the rest of my life. And I cherish it to this day. And it was a wonderful reward. They don't give many of those out.
Wow.
And I'm forever grateful that MLB did that midway through my career. And candidly, I use it quite a bit. And I use it because I love to go to the ballpark.
Hey, that's really cool.
Got one of those.
So you get to go to any stadium in the country free. That's awesome.
Anywhere. All I do is call the ticket office, and they give me a couple seats. They just ask you, where do you want to sit? So I sit in different spots in the ballparks. I spent my career, Kelly, sitting in great seats behind the plate, and now I like to sit all around the park and just be a fan and enjoy the heck out of the experience.
By the way, Kelly has had this as well. Lincoln County gave him a free pass to any home game.
Oh, really? Key to the city, really, from Fayetteville, Tennessee. That's in the attic somewhere. I don't know where it is, George. I can't
dust it off.
That's right. So, hey, I've talked about how hitting is hitting a baseball in Major League Baseball is one of the hardest things in life to do. So just talk about what this is it a Reyes kid that's batting 403 right now? I mean, the only guy that's ever done it in history was Ted Williams, right? He had 401 or something like that, but there's been nobody else. So just how hard is that, Danny?
Well, he did it. Right after candidly, he did it after during the war.
Yeah.
He had 406, and ever since then, nobody's ever done it. Kelly, I think it's impossible in today's game. You're facing 3, 4, 5 pitchers every night. Araza's a really good player, terrific hitter. He doesn't walk a lot, and as a result, he's going to have a lot of plate appearances, so it really makes it an even more difficult challenge. But it's so tough. He's a left-handed hitter, so it helps him 2/3 of the time the ball's coming in on him from a breaking ball, and it does make a difference. But what he's done in the first 2.5 months of the season, just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. He's got a magic wand. And, Kelly, when you're on a run like he's on right now, I mean, think about it. He can go 1 for 3 and his batting average plummets.
Yeah.
He's got to get 2 hits a night just to keep his batting average up. So I think it's a great story for baseball, and it's great for the Miami market.
Yeah, but it's kind of impossible, like you said. You can look nowadays at guys that are hitting 250 and getting paid all this money. So that's just, I looked on that today and I'm like, this dude is hitting 400. You never see that anymore in the Major League Baseball.
It's so hard. I mean, there's guys in the Hall of Fame, Kelly, who are 265. So, it's unheard of. It's a great story. I think it brings attention to the Marlins, which is something that hasn't happened on the field very often. But Kelly, the hardest part is this. When Williams was hitting 406, he was facing 1 or 2 pitchers a game.
Yeah.
He didn't have the travel that these guys have today. The game is attacking hitters today. I mean, it's such an analytics, metrics, video game. So they attack hitters' weaknesses. It's a completely different environment with guys with velocities that have never existed before out of the bullpen. So I think if he continues to flirt with that number, even if he doesn't achieve it, it's going to be an extraordinary one.
Yeah, because we talked about expectations, and I just don't. I mean, you start getting towards the end of the season and you're hitting that well, expectations start to build, and you're absolutely right. I just don't know if you can do that in today's baseball.
And, Kelly, if you're in the race, there's going to be periods where a base hit is not in the best interest of the club. Sometimes it might be moving or running along. Sometimes it might be a fly ball. Sometimes it might be a sacrifice. So the batting average, and I'm not a big batting average guy, but the batting average, listen to the fans, they agree with me. The batting average is something that, candidly sometimes hurts a player late in the year when you're trying to get some things done from a team concept.
Well, so y'all were talking about Jacob deGrom and him being hurt, and he's playing with the Rangers now. And I can remember weeks ago, George is like, the Rangers are at the top, but they're not going to be there long, but it seems like they're doing it. So what do you think about this Rangers team, and can they keep it up with the pressure that the Houston Astros are going to put on them?
I really like the team a lot. They've got some good core players. And Kelly, they've got guys who have won with other clubs. I think one of the hardest things, and you know this, trying to win that first time as a unit, it's really hard because if you haven't been there as a group, you need somebody to lead you. You need somebody to show you how to handle the difficult periods. Guys like Corey Seager, Simeon have been there. And it's going to make it easier for this young nucleus to have some success. I think they're real. I'm a big fan of their front office. I know their front office well. I think they're real and they're on the come. This is a team that's going to be a big problem for the Astros, the Mariners, the Rangers. The Astros, the Mariners, and the Angels for the next 5 years. No doubt in my mind.
Good. So the American League East, I see where Aaron Judge gets hurt. The Yankees are kind of climbing their way out of the cellar. But is there the Yankees need him so much. Can they get past him getting injured?
Not for an extended period. He's such an elite bat. And he makes the guys around him even better. You don't want to pitch to Judge with guys on base. You don't want to be in a situation where Judge can beat you. So he elongates innings. He lengthens innings because the pitcher is throwing a lot of pitches to get him out. He got hurt doing something special, going to the wall, trying to make a great catch in Dodger Stadium. He won't be out a long time. He's a tough kid. He heals real quickly. I think the Yankees will still be there at the end. still a really good club. What you have to do in a situation like this, Kelly, you got to tread water while he's gone and not get in a rut where you need him to come back. You know, if you can just play 500 baseball until he comes back, everybody goes through injuries over the course of the year. And if you can survive when your best guy is out and still tread water, you're going to be just fine.
Gotcha. So this is going to be my last question. It's one of these off-the-wall questions. I'll give David the credit for this question, but we've talked a lot about the Oakland A's, and y'all have talked, George has talked a lot about the A's and how bad they are. But with the lottery, they just started this lottery draft last year, and the Oakland A's are so bad, they obviously need help. But with this lottery pick that's coming into play, they might not have the first pick. What are your thoughts on this new Major League Baseball draft lottery?
First of all, they're horrible, and they're historically horrible. They may end up with the worst winning percentage in the modern era. So, you know, their opportunity to be bad is, oh my God, crystal clear to me, Kelly. They're horrible. I actually like the new rule, and I'll tell you why. And maybe this is the purist in me, Kelly. I hate tanking. I hate it. It's against everything I stand for. When you tank, you're basically saying, hey, I did a bad job. I didn't put a good product on the field. Now it's time to be really bad and maybe get that first pick. I don't like it. So I like the fact that you're in play for the first pick, but losing 115 to 125 games doesn't assure you of that pick. I think if any franchise needs that first pick, it is Oakland, but I like the rule. I like the rule simply because you don't give a reward for being historically bad.
Got you. Well, hey, man, enjoy yourself. You look like you're enjoying yourself. Go get you a brat. Go grab you a beer. Have at it, brother. You look like you're loving life right now.
I am. The kettle corn's almost done, Kelly, and that means I got to go get something else, right?
That is so good. I am so jealous. Hey, enjoy the game. Who knows? Rockies pitching may hold on to it.
I think they're more throwers than pitchers, so this might be a very high-scoring game.
Before it's over. Danny, enjoy.
See you,
bye, guys.
Danny Evans at a ballpark near you that happens to be Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. We'll go to the break. When we come back, it's Plaster Bet of the Day. And after last night, I need a W.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at bairdifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome back in. It is time for Plaster's Bet of the Day on this final segment on a Thursday, presented to you by Bart Durham Injury Law Firm. They are, simply put, the best in the business. They are lawyers you can trust, so give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. And last night for George, it was a tough one.
Runs his mouth.
Yeah, it was, excuse me?
I said you run your mouth. That's why, because you said it was almost a book it.
No, I've not. There haven't been any. I don't think since you've been on, I've come close to it.
You hadn't, but you said I'll be 189, 188, and 3
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I did. I know. It didn't work out. Miami got the hell beat out of them. They really did. So this is a big, think about this. You've got not only the Miami Heat going after the NBA title, but the Florida Panthers located down there. This has got to be a 4-day deal down there that's unbelievable. The hockey is tonight. The Heat game 4 is tomorrow, and then game 4 of the hockey is Saturday night. That would be my kind of sports weekend right there. So,
a lot going on.
Yeah. So, everybody's fallen in love with Vegas. Well, not so fast, my friend. Florida Panthers, book it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Book it. Oh, so you're booking it.
Well, because you've kind of.
I've revved you up a little bit. I like it. I got you a little irritated.
Yeah, I got a little irritated, got a little pissed off because the record I had is not anything to sneeze at. Now, there's
not bad.
Billy.
It's hard to do. I agree.
There's Billy sitting there in the background going, I could do better. Yeah. Well, he could also go about 120 and 270.
First book it in a long time for George.
Florida Panthers tonight. Feeling good. Looking good.
Go Knights.
Yeah. Hey, I do have a piece of news that I want to pass along. And Kelly, you may have seen it, but if you haven't, there's certainly a lot of people in this area who were friends of our dear friend Bob Hyde. So I just got this. A celebration of Bob Hyde's life will be held Saturday, June the 24th, 1 p.m. at Nissan Stadium. So again, a week from Saturday, Nissan Stadium, 1 p.m.
1 o'clock.
Bob Hyde was one of the best human beings that any of us have ever run into. My goodness, the work ethic, that he put into our National Football Foundation, I can't even begin to understand how we're going to fill that void. Just simply National Football Foundation. He was everything to our organization, and we are going to miss him a ton.
Yeah, I agree, George. He was just such a good guy, and he's one of those guys. He's an older guy, and when you needed something done, all you got to do is call Bob, pick up the phone, call him. He's going to get it done. If he can, he'll tell you. And that's just, it goes a long way in today's world where you can't get people to call you back or they won't answer their phone. He was such a good guy, and I hated that he got sick. I hated all that happened to him, but I was blessed to get to know him for at least the past 10 years. It was good, and I knew that I could count on him when I needed something.
His, for those of you who don't know, Bob grew up in Tullahoma, and one of his jobs when Mr. Adams would come to town would be to kind of take him around, make sure that he got where he needed to be to see certain groups that he needed to see, in particular on game day. They were always together, and Mr. Adams, rightfully so, trusted Bob Hyde with his life, period. Anyway, I wanted to pass that on. Again, Celebration of Life, a week from Saturday, June the 24th, 1 o'clock at Nissan Stadium. Kelly, I'll see you on Monday.
Yes, sir. Lord willing. I appreciate it, George. See you.
Absolutely. Billy, apparently we will see you on Monday.
I'll be on tomorrow, George.
Is that so?
Yeah, I told you that.
Okay. We'll see how that works.
I guess we will.
David, how confident are you that it'll work?
He's either going to be here or he's not. He's going out to Chattanooga to get a friend married. So congrats to that friend. But George, we'll have some fun tomorrow. We'll hold it down.
Absolutely, we will. See you then from the beautiful Ford Ice Center in Bellevue.